team number 7048. They are the Red River Rage out of Fargo, North Dakota. We are here with Carson, Juliet, and Chance before here. And just how are you guys doing here today before we kind of hop into things?
We're doing good. We just actually had a meeting with Marvin. We got to show him our robot and do a couple presentations.
Yeah, your advisor, Rory, told me a little bit about that. You guys just kind of want to dive into what you guys discussed at this meeting and if you guys learned anything new.
So we gave two presentations. Our first presentation was on Engineering Inspires, the process and how we submitted it and our award. And then we talked about Dean's List, the award and how I won it, and then what it is. And then we also got to tour their facility and see how they make their windows, and we drove our robot around.
Okay. And just overall, what did you guys think of the visit? What did each of you guys think of this of Marvin Windows?
I thought it was pretty cool. They have it's a very like new building that they have, and they showed us stuff that we're not allowed to talk about because it's industry secrets and stuff. But I think it was really cool, and they have a lot of intern openings and stuff.
Yep. I for sure won't ask you about those industry secrets, so we can kind of move on here. And just overall, how are you guys feeling you guys are doing this season?
Pretty good.
Good.
Awesome.
I think this is one of our better seasons too. We really got to see a lot of growth.
And how do you think your robot's performing? What are some things you like about it, and what are some things you're looking to improve on it?
We just added our climb. We haven't really tested it too much, but it's a chainsaw climb, so I think it has some pretty good potential.
Okay. And give us a little bit of a background into yourselves as individuals. How long have you guys been in robotics? What your guys' kind of roles are for the team? Just kind of basic information like that.
I'm Chance. This is my second year. I'm on the build team.
I'm Juliet, and I'm robot lead, so basically a team captain, and this is my third year.
I'm Carson. This is also my third year, and I'm scout lead.
What does that in like role require you to do, Carson?
Just like gather information about other teams and learn how we can like pair with teams before we play with them in matches or play against them in matches. Mm-hmm. I think this year it's pretty important because we have autonomouses we're working on where we go into like the center of the field, and we need to make sure that there aren't other bots on the other side going into the field because we will run into each other and both of us will be unhappy.
Okay. What events have you guys participated in so far this year?
We've gone to Grand Forks to the Great Northern Regional, and next week we are going to St. Cloud and competing at a Week 5 event.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that Week 5 event. Week 6. We want to tell us a little bit more about that Week 6 event and what's the goal there?
So in Grand Forks, we won our 2 awards that are taking us to Worlds, but we only took 37th with our robot out of, I believe it was 56 teams. So overall, I think our main goal in St. Cloud is to really get some good drive practice in and just getting that competitive edge with our autonomouses too, because we don't have a field in our facility. So it's a really great time to test all of our autonomouses before we get to go compete at Worlds. And obviously, we'd love to do better than what we did in Grand Forks.
And just kind of speaking about that Northern Regional, just overall, how did you guys think the event as a whole went? What did you guys think of the Alaris Center and its size?
Well, we go every year. So this was Chance's second year and Carson and I's third year going. And every year, it was really nice. The pits were divided a little bit different this year. There were sections where you could go in and it'd be like FLL teams and FTC teams, or it was just really cool how they added that in this year, because in previous years, they'd be kind of more off in the corner, or like you'd have to kind of go out of your way to see them.
Okay.
We learned a lot at Grand Forks this year too. Just like last year was probably a more extreme example, but this year We learned the faults of our robot and we worked on fixing them.
Awesome. And you guys mentioned you are qualified for Worlds already, and I believe that's in Houston this year. And just overall, what are you guys looking forward to about Worlds most this year? Each of you guys can kind of say something of what you guys are looking forward to.
Well, it is your senior year.
I'll go first. I've never even been to Texas before, so I'm just excited to go down there and just see what it's like there.
Okay. I'm excited because our team hasn't gone in a couple of years since before COVID. So as a team has a legacy, you know, it's really cool to get going. But I'm excited because I think I'm one of the first students to win Dean's List in North Dakota. So I'm really excited to go get to represent as a finalist and to also see the other robots that won just by winning off of just playing the match and stuff. I'm excited to see how they solve the problems that we couldn't necessarily figure out or how well they did it.
I'm just excited that I get to go to Worlds before I graduate.
Yeah, and Chance, you kind of mentioned that you're a senior this year, graduating at the end of the year. What are your plans after high school? Do you know yet?
I already have a 4-ride scholarship to any North Dakota college. I'm going to NDSU after I graduate.
What are you doing? What are you studying?
Mechanical engineering.
Has like robotics kind of pushed you into that direction, or did it inspire you to kind of go into that kind of stuff?
That was already most of the plan. It's why I joined robotics, really.
Okay. Robotics kind of teach you guys some things, things that will help you guys pursue that career.
I don't know. I think I wanted to be an architect for robotics, but now I'm definitely leaning more into mechanical engineering or some type of like design, like industry design. So robotics definitely has pushed me in that direction.
Okay. And Juliet, you kind of mentioned that you're also on your Dean's List finalist. And for our listeners who aren't too familiar with that, you kind of want to explain to them what that is?
So Dean's List is an award named after Dean Kamen. He's one of the founders of First Robotics. And it's an award that essentially 2 students from each team get nominated based on how involved they are with First and what they do to impact their team and their community as a whole. And you go through an interview process at the competitions. So like for me at Grand Forks, I had to go into a room and run a panel of judges and ask a series of questions. And based on how you did, they select 2 students out of, I think it was 26 when I competed. And those 2 students qualify and go to Houston.
Awesome. And Carson, I don't think we heard your plans after high school yet. Do you know what you kind of want to do?
I don't have like a clear plan, but I'm not interested in STEM as a career, but I don't regret joining robotics at all. It's a great experience and I learned a lot of things. Like even though I don't think I'll apply a lot of the stuff I learned to whatever I do for a living, I learned a lot of very valuable lessons here.
Okay. And just kind of talking about some of those experiences, you guys just kind of want to share a story each maybe of just one of your favorite memories from over the past few years that you guys have been in robotics.
I'll start.
My favorite memory of robotics was actually like quite a bad experience when I experienced it. So my freshman year, we went to Duluth for our first regional, and right there they decided that I'd be driving that year. And that year, we
didn't have limits on our robot on the arms, and he almost tore them off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We all were very vocal about it. I don't know. I think I've had a lot of interesting experiences with robotics, but I think one of my favorite is whenever you get at a competition, sometimes they have things like First Ladies in STEMs meetings and stuff. And as the only girl on my team, I really like going to those events and being able to experience them. So just anything where I get to vocalize my passion, you know.
I don't necessarily have a specific memory, but the whole experience, just meeting people, having fun, it's very important to me, and then very important to me the past couple of years.
Okay. How about just Crescendo? It's that's obviously this year's a game, and just overall, what do you guys think of Crescendo so far? What are some things you like about it? Maybe some things that are a little bit more difficult. You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
So there's a component in Crescendo where when you climb on the chains, there's this thing called the trap. And we attempted to design our robot in the climb on a robot in order to be able to do trap, but we haven't really successfully, consistently done it or attempted it really. And I think that's one of the hardest components of this year. And it's definitely, you can see the growth of teams since after COVID. We kind of like Rapid React was an easier game. There was 2 components, and then they stepped it up a notch with Charged Up. And now I finally feel like First is back at making games at the same quality as they did before and same competitiveness.
Well, you too.
I think again, like this year, the competition seems way more complex than years before. Like our design last year for picking up pieces was like simple to like an art form. It was just like a simple claw to grab the pieces.
Pneumatically powered,
Yeah.
so
And this year we have
a linear actuator and a whole bunch.
Anything to add to that, Chance?
Not really, no.
Awesome. And a Chance, you mentioned that you're also, we mentioned before that you're graduating. Mentorship, would you consider doing mentorship in the future at all?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Okay. How
I think
about,
we have rules where it's your freshman year, you can't come back and mentor yet. Your sophomore year of college, you can.
I think Joe said you had to wait 2 years.
I think it's
No,
just
it's your freshman
Okay,
year.
okay.
That's my brother had to wait a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay. How about, yeah, just talk a little bit more about Worlds, your excitement for Worlds is, what's the goal over at Worlds up in Houston?
Well, I think we would all love to make it to Einstein with our robot, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we will. I hope we do well in our, it's called district, right? Your sections, yeah. Hope we do well in that. And even if I don't place as one of the top 10 finalists in Houston for Dean's List, I'm still proud to represent my team there and everything I have learned up to that point.
You guys want to explain to me your logo a little bit? Is that like a wave? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a wave inside of a gear. Because Red, River, Rage, and we didn't really know how to put a river on there, so why not put a wave?
Who did any of you guys design the logo?
No, this design was made in 2018. Yep.
Okay.
But I think it's funny.
Besides Worlds, what else do you guys have coming up before the season besides
Well,
Worlds and then week 6 next week? What else are you guys looking forward to about this year?
Well, Fargo has their annual air show every year, and we do a STEM Expo event. And I believe this year, MNRC and STEM Alliance are working on getting they're kind of trying to combine them to see if we can get a hangar at the Fargo Air Show. And if not, we're still going to go and represent our team and drive a robot.
What is the Fargo Air Show?
Fundraising.
what was that?
What is the Fargo Air Show?
Oh, so a bunch of, I don't know, it's a bunch of airplanes and stuff. And they come out and they do their little tricks. They do a show. And everybody, usually, some people come from Minnesota over to see it. It's actually kind of a big event.
I'm pretty sure it's the Blue Angels that are flying.
Yeah, the Blue Angels.
Okay.
If you look them up, you'll know what I'm talking about.
They used to fly over my house all the time. They're not allowed to anymore.
How about some things you guys have learned from robotics over the last few years? What are maybe some skills? Doesn't even necessarily have to be like tech skills. What are some things that you guys have learned over the last 2-3 years that you guys have been in robotics that you maybe wouldn't have known by not joining the organization?
I think there's a social aspect to the robotics competitions that a lot of people overlook because you at these competitions you're with 50 some other teams and they all have different ideas and different plans and how they want to do things. So when you're talking to them about strategy or general like game tactics, it can become difficult to communicate your ideas without proper practice, which I get a lot of when we're at competitions.
And I think with robotics, it's taught me not necessarily tech skills, but like I mentioned, our award that we submitted, it taught me that I don't have to know all of the criteria of something, but as long as I try to succeed with it and put in my best effort, that there is a chance that you will do well always.
Well, one of my bigger takeaways is I'm not a very social person. I don't interact with groups a lot, but so for the first time, I was in a situation where I had to both listen and talk and speak up for myself at points.
Yep. And Carson, I think that kind of comes back to what you were talking about earlier. You mentioned that you're not exactly going to go into STEM afterwards, but you were still able to pick up skills and different things like that from robotics. Is that kind of is like what you and Chance kind of mentioned? Is that kind of what you meant by that?
I think, yeah, a social aspect as well. It's just like basic technical knowledge is useful for anybody nowadays. Like no matter what you're doing, understanding a little bit is useful.
Awesome. And then just one final question for you guys is just, you guys just want to tell me one or two reasons why why a student who is looking to join an organization at school maybe, give me one or two reasons why they should consider robotics.
Okay. So I've been in a lot of activities. Like I play 2 sports and I'm also in robotics. And robotics is my favorite activity because when we're recruiting, we tell people that you don't have to know a single thing about robots. You don't have to know how to program. You don't have to know how to build anything. You just have to come with passion and drive to try. And with sports and everything, you can get cut. They're usually pretty critical, but robotics trains the mind, and it also trains you to be able to understand that you don't have to be the best in the room in order to succeed.
It gives you something to do in the winter, and it's fun.
Yeah, it definitely gets cold here and we get cabin fever, so why not build some robots?
Kind of like Carson was saying, it's good to have technical knowledge. And what I was saying, it gives you an excuse to interact with people.
And miss school. We miss a lot of school.
Yeah, that too.
Perfect. Well, Juliet, Carson, and Chance, was there anything else you guys wanted to tell us about the Red River Rage, robotics in general? Just anything else before we get going? Maybe shout outs or anything like that while you have this platform?
Well, we are looking for more sponsors. So somebody hit up our coach. Someone hit up Rory.
Rory Hill.
And we broke our mill. We built our whole robot without a mill. So we are looking for funds for a new mill.
I think we should also thank our sister team, 4360, for hosting us. We're in their
Yeah, we do build in their school, and half of our room is split right down the middle.
Chance, anything?
Clearly no.
Perfect. I appreciate the time here today, guys. And again, thanks for the time. And that was the Red River Rage, team number 7048 out of Fargo, North Dakota.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. How well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
Welcome back to the YLE Robotics Show. I am here with Team 4674 RoboJacks. Now, this is interesting because typically we always have some students in that like mixed in, but we actually have 3 mentors with us. So I'm going to let you guys kind of introduce yourselves.
Okay. Well, I'm Kirk, the coach for the RoboJacks. I've been coaching for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and then I was a mentor volunteer prior to that.
Okay.
I'm William. I graduated in 21, and I've been a mentor since then for the team.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm Gracelyn. This is my first year mentoring. I help the students with mostly the social media side of things, although I have experience with CAD, and I am also a former team member.
Okay, so that's always fun because what is it? And Kirk, we've talked about this before. It really is, once you take a sip of the robotics life, you do not get out too easily. It is very effective. So sticking around, that's always cool. And it's always cool, hearing stories of, coming back. But I mean, for both William and Gracelyn, what did draw you guys back into being like, yeah, I still need to be a part of this?
I think a lot of it was with me is just seeing where it took me being in it when I was throughout high school. I wanted to make sure that other kids had the same opportunities that I was presented with where the robotics led me to. I wanted to make sure that stuck around and that everybody could see where that could take you in life. I see a lot of benefits to it. So I just like to show that and help other kids see those benefits.
Okay.
I think for me, it's just kind of coming back has been a bit inevitable. My family's been around since the beginning of the team has been in it. My brother was one of the first members. For those of you who don't know, Kirk is my dad. So, I have to be around this all the time.
Okay.
So I get to hear about it, and I had several friends who, stuck with the program for a long time, and they still talk about it. And it was just kind of, it's been a part of my life, so might as well, come back and mentor.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's interesting. Not again, even more interesting. It's not the first time I've heard that where it's like, yeah, no family. Like when one family member's in, the family is in. Let's go. But Graceland and Kirk, kind of going with that. How is it? How well, Kirk, for you, how was it? Mentoring and coaching. Those two words are pretty interchangeable. Graceland coming up versus now, she's here helping you.
Well, by the time I became a coach, Grace had graduated from school.
Oh.
So she was so at that time, the way my jobs worked, I was becoming more and more involved. But kind of like what Grace and Will both have said, what started with me was my oldest son, Gabriel, was as a freshman was on the very first robotics team at Bemidji. And when I finally went to an event, because they're not at home, we had to travel to Duluth, we had to travel down to Minneapolis. When I finally got to an event, it was like, okay, I get why he is spending so much time doing this. And so at that point, I wanted to kind of the same thing these guys have said too. I saw what it did for my son. I wanted to make sure that I was able to give back to the organization that provided him with such a great experience. But at that, I just didn't have the job means at that time. So I kind of missed a lot of Gracie's time on the team. But yeah, the stories that she was involved with, the off-season T-shirt cannons and the shenanigans that they would get into, still made me like, I got to do this.
Okay. So, I mean, Graceland, if you don't mind, what T-shirt cannons, just as a complete sidestep. I love tiny stories so tell me about the T-shirt cannons here.
So this one was we were doing a project. I think it was for the 4th of July parade. Oh, how many years? A long time ago. we had done a project to make a T-shirt cannon, and just that whole process, because I think it was like me and 6 other guys.
Yep.
And so it's just a very small group, and we're trying to make a T-shirt cannon and calibrate it. At one point, I think when we were testing the pressure of the cannon, we had shot it from a pretty good distance at a filing cabinet and got like a fist-sized dent in the cabinet, which I think they just got rid of that cabinet this year. But I'd walk past and be like, I remember doing that.
I'm not gonna lie, that only when you brought up the T-shirt cannon and funny story and everything else like that, all I could remember again, you know that the Simpsons with the T-shirt cannon and Flanders' wife, and I was like, don't tell me you actually shot somebody and you didn't test it out or something.
To not shoot anybody. Although during the parade we did get a T-shirt stuck very firmly in a tree. And I believe it took a couple days for it to come down. And I have a picture of the aftermath of that with the coach at the time, David Gooch, and one of the team members, Ryan Speck, just kind of looking at how'd you manage that?
Oh, very nice, very nice. All right, well, we could talk all types of stories like that all day, but let's talk Grand Forks, which was at this point 3 weeks ago, because that was a week 2 event type of deal. We got to see you guys. We actually talked with. It's very hard to miss RoboJacks because they are the ones that are walking around with the flannel button shirt. So once you hear them, we always attempt to.
You're all climbing around.
Yes, we always try to grab them, and always the students are so professional and come and talk, and they're fantastic speakers and everything. So we thank you for that. But how was Grand Forks for the RoboJacks?
It was everything. I guess is maybe the way to put it. It had its highs, it had its lows. In my opinion, the team, I think we'll agree with this from what we saw as coaches. I think the team, as far as the robot, kind of outperformed themselves for what we were anticipating. So we were very pleased with the team performance. Unfortunately, though, on Saturday, the robot just decided not to cooperate on Saturday and did not do anything it was supposed to do both matches. So for as high ranked as we were, it was kind of like, well, we're not going to make the playoffs, which is very difficult as a coach to see that, to know that, and then to see the students struggle with the fact that they did have such a great day Friday, had a great day, had put all the work into it, and to know that it's going to end. It's going to end there. That's difficult, but so proud of them for the robot that they did, the performance they put on. And for me personally, as a coach, for watching them come together as a team, a lot of young people on the team, but to watch them come together, we had our safety captain was safety all-star. We had our impact team present, and I thought they did a phenomenal job with their presentation. And these are not necessarily students who would typically want to get up, or in the past I would not have picked them to be people presenting, and yet they're insisting that they are the ones that they want to do the presentation. So seeing that, the scouting team, we collaborated with about 4 other teams to work with the scouting data and to have some of them be recognized as really doing a good job on the scouting, getting the data in correctly, meeting their matches. So yes, a lot of good things. And then to be there too, with when Cass Lake won the Impact Award, one of our mentors on the team had mentored Cass Lake a few years ago. So I know for Sid, it had to have been feeling just like she got it too. But that was well deserved for them. So to see our friends also succeed and get recognition was wonderful.
Yeah.
And then coming back and having Grand Forks, kind of bringing the team together, I have noticed a definite increase in cohesion looking forward to St. Cloud.
Yep.
And that has been so gratifying.
No, okay. And talking about, the focus to St. Cloud, which is your next event. Now, is that something that you as mentors, are you coming in and going like, hey, we gotta, focus up, or is this all students? It's just like, oh yeah, we're there making sure they don't, hurt themselves.
Mostly students. There's points where you just gotta step in a little bit and kind of guide them in the right direction. But it's mostly students, their motivations change, especially there was a lot of students that went to Grand Forks for us that had never been to a regional competition before. Just seeing that kind of, like we were talking earlier, you go to an event, you get hooked. I think a lot of that just plays into it. And they just want to get prepared and get ready for the next one. Go to one more, go down to St. Cloud, next week?
Yeah,
next week. So, I think that plays a big part into the motivation into there, and see what they're actually working towards. I think that's kind of the biggest part of it.
Yeah. And they are motivated. Matter of fact, when we got back after Grand Forks, I said, okay, now we got about a month. What do we do? I had to rein them in. I was like, I can't keep this pace up. And so I gave them the choice whether we would meet 4 days a week, but have a very hard cutoff time at about 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the evening, or do we meet twice a week and hit it hard? They didn't like the options, but they said hit it hard for 2 weeks. They wanted to hit it hard 4 nights a week, but They decided to hit it hard for 2 nights a week. And then last night they came up to me and said, look, we've got stuff we still need to do. This next week, can we add an extra day to it? And they came up with a list and said, these are the things we were going to accomplish, and said, okay, I'll do it.
Again, I'm always stories. The game itself, fantastic. I love watching the robots. That's awesome. But hearing the stories with the students that are like, that was fully like, no, we need to work more on it, X, Y, Z, and it's them doing this. But not only just saying like, hey, we want to do this. Can mentors, can coaches, figure this out for us? It's like they came up and had all these plans. That's I think is the real special part of robotics and what you guys are going towards. You also mentioned with the Grand Forks with the kids presenting, where you're like, you would never think these guys are the ones volunteering for this with William and Graceland. I mean, that seems like it's a pretty much every single like kind of student really kind of grows into like themselves at that point. When do you, as people who have played and have played recently, when is that aha moment of like, oh, I can come out of my shell, like these are my people type of deal?
I don't know if I'd ever thought about it like that before. I'd have to say for me, it's probably that my first year when we found out at kickoff, when we found out the game we were playing, talking to all the other kids when I was a freshman at the time, talking to all the other kids, hearing what there was and going through the strategizing. And even though I was the first year, didn't know anything, I was included in every single conversation. My ideas were heard, every single thing. It was like you'd been there for 10 years and you literally just started with these other kids. I think that's what kind of opened me up through it. I think that's probably where I really grew from that point.
Yeah, I guess I'd never really thought of it that way either. A lot of the people on the team I had kind of known from other things. So like coming into it, I felt very comfortable, but I know there was definitely a point where I just had to like think like, I am younger than everyone else. At that time, I think the team, aside from myself, was all guys. And I was included in those conversations. They took the time to explain stuff to me like they would anybody else. And it's like they want me to be there. So I can kind of give that back and like prove like I'm glad I'm here. I can, learn the stuff and do the stuff with you. And I think just kind of like looking back and realizing that I was able to just with the team welcoming me in is just kind of all it took for me.
No, again, it's so cool to think, and I said it all the time because what was it? This is really my second year of like being introduced to this. I had no idea this existed, right? I'm from Cleveland. I had no idea, right? So like being introduced last year and really kind of diving in last year, the entire time it was just, where was this? Like, where was this when I was in high school or, middle school and stuff like that? This is so awesome. But getting back on the preparation for St. Cloud, like you said, which is very interesting. I've yet to hear, you guys are Kirk, you're the first person to tell me that the robot and the team overperformed what we thought was going to happen. So that's fantastic. I'm always happy to hear that. It's always all doom and gloom, like, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. But you guys finished really well. What are the hurdles that you guys are like finding and like having to tweak, or did Grand Forks show you anything where it does completely like scrap things? And I love those looks because I get them all.
I'm just thinking about
oh, you don't know that
yesterday. When I got there, I think I got there at about 4 o'clock yesterday. Our robot was a bare chassis, no electronics, nothing onto it. And when I left at 10 o'clock last night, it was driving, running around, and shooting, doing everything it was before, besides our bumpers weren't mounted in one afternoon. It was back up to going from a bare chassis, bare frame. Basically what we started right away when we found out the game, it was within that first couple days of building was where we were at yesterday at 4 o'clock. And it's back together now. It's yeah. Things can move fast.
Yeah, oh, and there was a couple weeks of we knew that was going to happen, and so there was a couple weeks of getting everything lined up so that when we took that dive, when we tore it apart, it would go back together. There was a lot of prep work that went into that, but yeah, it's always nerve-wracking. At least this time we had 1 year where we did that. Again, a few days before a competition, the night before competition, we had that thing tore apart. That was a year of perseverance. It's that year, everything that could go wrong did go wrong, it felt like. And this year, no, it just was, as far as the robot did what it was supposed to do at Grand Forks, except for Saturday. And I felt the drivers made their cycle times. And I just really felt that, looking at the robot when I was making kind of, in coach's mind, and nothing against the students, we built a robot that I did not think would be, I was shooting for mid-20s for a ranking, a robot that would be picked. And we ended up being ranked in the top 20 at the end of it all. So I was very happy about that. Unfortunately, we didn't meet our goal of being picked, so that's what I mean when the ranking system is a little different. You can have a very good robot that gets ranked lower. And I felt our robot was ranked higher than I would have anticipated. Now,
they deserved the rank, but it was higher than we initially expected it to be prior to the event.
Yep. And now looking ahead to St. Cloud, boy, the St. Cloud event, honestly, is a who's who of the robotics teams in Minnesota. You've got Hall of Fame teams there. You've got state championship teams there. You've got teams that have made it to Einstein. You have teams that have already won regionals. Matter of fact, I believe there are no fewer than 6 teams, 8 teams now?
8 teams entered.
That are
qualified.
Already qualified for Houston. They're already qualified.
Joke. Okay.
So this is this event down in St. Cloud is, if you want to watch a high quality robotics competition, that is the place to be in Minnesota. There's another event going down in Williams Arena, I believe it is, in U of M, that about the same time. They'll wrap up a day before we are. And that should be wonderful too. There's a lot of teams there that haven't had their first plays yet. But I would say that a lot of teams have already had their plays, been refining their robots. They're going head to head in St. Cloud. And if we were to, again, I'm obviously leaving the door open to being very pleasantly surprised, but in terms of a robot competition, it's going to be stiff. There is not much difference between top and bottom.
Okay. All right. Well, and that again is the following, not this weekend, it's the next weekend. So 6th and 7th, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, definitely. If you can make it out to St. Cloud, definitely go check it out. It is going to those events. It is, I always say it's like an old school WWF feel with all the high tech stuff. It's a rock concert for robots. It's awesome. It really is. Now, Graceland, you said you do the social media side of everything. So and that's the other thing I'm very interested in is, again, you really the game itself, and we'll get to the game in a second, but the game itself is such a small part of like everything that involves around it. So I guess how is the social media like side when it comes to RoboJacks? I mean, what do you guys do?
Oh, for sure. Well, I think we're still kind of being my first year of mentoring. We're still kind of learning the groove of how we want to do things. But I think what the big part of what my goal is for those people who are interested in that is being able to go to the build team or the control team or whatever team's working on the robot and being able to ask them, hey, what are you guys doing? And then for them to explain it and they understand like what the robot's doing in a way that they can explain it to other people who would otherwise have no idea what they're doing, So kind of learning how to interpret the tech talk to, like a regular person who's just kind of walking up for the first time, kind of being that little bridge from, like, hey, I'm kind of interested in what you guys are doing, and this is what we're doing.
No, that is very, very huge for sure. But so going back to the game itself, I mean, how do you guys, what are your, I don't want to say first reaction, but you've played, you were in Grand Forks, you played a physical event. How do you guys, yay on the game, a little questionable on the game, or how do we feel about the game this year?
It's definitely a fast-paced game. The wide open field makes some impacts, let's put it that way. Yeah, some hard impacts. But it also kind of gives it, well, for like us, the wide open field and everything opens up a lot of opportunities that us as a team haven't used before. I mean, last year was our first year with Swerve Drive to even trying, and we didn't compete. We didn't compete at a regional with Swerve Drive. We used our off-season events with it. This is our first year at a regional event running Swerve Drive, which kind of just speeds stuff up a little bit, makes maneuverability a little easier. And this wide open field is a good layout for learning on that and kind of doing it. And then, I mean, there's a lot of pinch points in this field. I mean, there's a lot of spots where there's robots all running through the same path, want to run the same path, causing collisions. But it's a lot of fun to watch. It's kind of, I guess, my opinions on it. But
yeah, I think it's been pretty fast paced, and the newer technologies out there. We mentioned Swerve Drive. I don't think the camera vision sensing has played as big of an impact this year, but increases in the use of gyroscopes and the autonomous. The autonomous is huge this year. The teams that can do autonomous, they're the ones calling the shots when it comes to line selection. To see those things, it's been exciting. It's actually been higher scoring than I initially predicted. I guess for the early,
pretty close
early on, and then I knew it would get higher scoring. But yeah, that combination of shooting and placing, yeah, I like it. You have to think, and there's things that can happen mid-game that can totally change the course of it with the amplification. If you have a team that can do a trap, those are all things that if a team does or doesn't, can make or break, and make or break big time too. Not just eke out a win. It might dominate whether or not they can do that.
Okay. Now, when last question. I know what is it? It's weeks. If it's week 5 or 6, if I think correctly, right?
Week 5 right now.
Week 5 right now. Okay, perfect. See, I'm around it. I can keep a schedule in my head. So week 5, compared to first initial thoughts, and obviously when kickoff event, I mean, there's probably goals going through I mean, the mentors' heads for sure, going like, okay, I think this is what we're going to be able to do throughout this season. Has those like early season goals changed since early season, or is it still the same goals? And if they have changed, or if they haven't changed, what are the goals for the end of the season for you guys?
Well, my measurable goals is the goal is to make the playoffs. If we go to an event, we want to be in the playoffs. So in that sense, we haven't made it. The other goal that we have is with our impact, but this kind of goes throughout the season, is another goal is to actually make an impact on our community, to do things that inspire students to be involved in STEM. Ultimately for me though, what it comes down to, and this is the year we kind of finalized our mission statement as a team. And this is really what it comes down to is our goal is to build students who are geared for success. The kids and I sat down one night and we were kind of trying to hammer out the wording for that, and they came up with that wording and said, I like it. So that's really, and I feel we're doing that. The goal, the robot, it's doing the thing. We haven't really changed much as far as what the robot is designed to do, how we want to play the game. We hit a path and we stuck with it, and I think it's a good path. It's a solid path. It's within our capabilities, and we can do it at a high level. But ultimately, it's come down: are the students doing those things? Are we instilling the values? Are we getting them exposed to the skills that are going to make them successful, way beyond robotics? And that's a year-round thing. Hopefully that kind of answers. Will, Grace, you guys chime in?
I think you covered that.
You said very well.
And I'll say this: that is the one, like, the goals are very similar throughout everything, and it's always, hey, yeah, when it comes to the game, so we'd love to do this, this, and this. Great, but at the end of the day, it's all about what is next for the students and everything else. And I believe, I love the mission statement from you guys. The one that sticks with me a lot is, I believe, Olaf said this. He's like, we're making the next generation of employees that you actually want to hire. And I was like, that is so true. Yes, 100%. 100%. Now, the one other, I lied. One last question. We're going to go back to the T-shirt cannon. Is that still in use, or has that been retired?
I believe that they ended up recycling it for parts, if I remember correctly. Yes, honestly, I think the only remnants we have are a couple pictures here and there.
There's other ones that have been built.
The one I did, at least, is probably scrapped and in something else.
There's iterations, and some of those projects are maybe best done when the coach
not on school property
isn't very carefully, or teams doing off property tests, modification and tests. No, I have responsibility sometimes to put a damper on the fun.
Right.
No, there's been several iterations of everybody wants to make their own, and there's things we find out, that, I want to say we had a manual valve and you guys did it.
And then I made a electronic one.
Yeah.
Now I made
and I know I came in one time, I think before a coach, and I had sprinkler valves that we were using.
That's what I use, as high pressure
sprinkler valves. So, okay, maybe sometimes the coaches are just as bad.
And honestly, I don't think there's a better way to end this than that right there. So seriously, guys, thank you so much. This has been just an absolute blast to talk to you guys. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
For everyone else, stay tuned.